Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment or medications if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here. Visit bewelltexas.org.
Hello and welcome to March 2, the pod presented by Eternal Roofing. We are live, and for those of you who just finished watching with us, the Rice and Sam Houston baseball game, we welcome you, and I've got some things to say about that, Ben.
Me too.
I've got some things to say about that game, because there were some things I saw that I don't allow.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, we will definitely get into that. You know, this is season 2, episode 25, and I am searching for a groundhog to grill. I really am. Like, this is some BS weather we got in this state right now. I walk outside at 7 degrees with a wind chill of negative 11.
Crazy winds.
Yeah, well, look, credit to the Bearcats and the Owls, right? Like, they're playing the baseball game 29 degrees with all that wind, too.
Yeah.
Right, like that.
It looked a little misty, too, at times.
It did. It looked like foggy, misty type. Like, that's not fun weather to play in. I have thoughts about that when it comes to the game as well. And we're going to get into that stuff, Ben, but got to let people know first, I'm the host and producer and the formerly band member of catfans.com, Corey Hogue. I'm the non-FBS insider at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Find me on your favorite social media channels at Corey Hogue Sports. It's all one word, CORYHOGUE Sports. And if you're watching us on either Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, first, welcome. And you can see how it's spelled right there. If you're listening, check out the video sometime. Not my face, but other things are maybe make it worth it. The knowledge of this show is provided by the creator and manager of Sports of SHSU, all one word again, on Twitter and Instagram, Chief Operating Officer of the Cat Fund and proud Bearcat alum. He is cold along with everybody else. Ben, how have you been for the last 2 weeks?
Living life, watching the Bearcats.
I was supposed to get better.
And you didn't?
Ben, really? Me?
Our performance review, I'm going to have some things to say.
I actually had one of those last week. That's part of why I had to miss. And they didn't fire me, surprisingly. Always surprises me when they don't fire me every year.
Yep.
So that was nice. And then they said some other things that should scare the bejesus out of anyone that likes Dave Campbell's Texas Football.
Yeah. I got wind of a little bit. It scares me. I'm just kidding.
Dude, they're like, all I did when they started talking about some of this was like, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, I feel sorry for him too.
Yeah, no, man. People pretend to want more of me sometimes, and they really should not. Man. That's all I'm gonna say.
They ask for it, and then when it happens, I don't know how happy they end up.
If Tepper hears it, yeah. Oh, look, it's going to happen, right?
Yep. Makes it happen.
Yeah. Anyway, also, again, big things coming at Dave Campbell's in 25 and especially 26. We've got a lot of stuff coming. We're we're really diving into some things. You've kind of seen a little change if you've been paying attention the last week or so with some of the content that we've been sharing. You're seeing more column opinion type base things coming. I had one Tuesday on the American Southwest Conference. I'm realigning the Lone Star Conference. Craven talked about Texas A&M in a column. These things are going to keep coming. So if you've got any questions, anything you want to know our opinions about, let us know. We would love to write about that.
I was going to say, if you want even more of Corey's opinions on what you get here, just tune in.
You're about to get a whole lot of my opinions. And that's scary for all of us.
Right.
Today, we're going to start off talking about football. Then we're going to go into some baseball, talk about that game that just finished at Rice. And then we're going to close with some basketball talk of it was a great weekend of basketball. We haven't said that very often.
It's been a pretty good couple of weeks, especially on the women's side.
It really has. We've got some great things to talk about. But before we do, let's hear a word from our sponsors over at Eternal Roofing. Eternal Roofing and General Contracting is your choice for integrity work in the Texas Hill Country. Taylor Andrus and crew provide experienced quality roofing services with a mission of roofing with faith, serving with integrity, and sheltering homes in the spirit of stewardship. Don't just take our word for it. Here's what satisfied customer Pamela Allen had to say about Eternal Roofing. They did a great job on our patio roof, came out quick for a quote. The quote was very reasonable, and they started and finished work well and quickly. Not a bad thing to say about Eternal Roofing. Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539, or you can email them taylor@eternalroofingtx.com. Hey, Ben, before we get into talking about football here, how'd you like the 30 seconds before we began today, that music with it?
Producer did a great job.
Let me tell you.
That's what I got to say.
I want to really kind of, you join this show, I want you to feel like you're in that elevator. And I want you to be about it.
And now I feel like I'm in Corey's new house that still looks great after a couple of weeks of being there.
I know, right? You think I know how to clean a house? Stop. You got to pay people for that stuff, Ben.
And hey, they're paying you the big bucks, right? They're promoting you, putting you out there.
Anyway, we're going to move on here. We're talking about some football. And look, in case you didn't know, we got some Super Bowl champion Bearcats now. All of a sudden, Tristan McCollum with the Eagles. Congratulations on that Super Bowl. And it's not just Tristan McCollum that made me happy. Jalix Hunt getting one too. Also, well, we could talk about that in a second. But Ben, the Eagles dominated that game from the second drive on. After that second drive, I was over at a friend's house. Somebody actually invited me to their house. Anyway, and so, you invite me, I'm going. The pest is going to show up. So after the second drive, I looked over at him. I said, dude, Chiefs are in trouble.
Yeah.
That was easy. And they did not have a good first drive. That offensive line was getting smoked. The defensive line was getting worked. It was a total upfront domination for the Eagles in that game.
Kind of felt like the Chiefs had it coming for them after all the breaks they'd gotten all year. After every close game they had been a part of, it kind of finally fell apart, and the Eagles took full advantage. And you could kind of just feel it coming with the way the Eagles had been playing. They put up 56 in the NFC Championship game, and I was rooting for the Eagles hard because obviously Tristan won, but being a Texans fan, don't really like the Chiefs. Not a big fan of Taylor Swift and all that drama and stuff. So I was happy to see the Eagles win.
I have a 23-year-old daughter who adores Taylor Swift. So that means I have an 8-year-old son who also adores Taylor Swift. So in my house, I was the only one cheering for the Eagles. And I did that simply. Well, my wife probably did. No, my wife didn't, because Pacheco went to Rutgers and he's the running back. So that put her on the Chiefs bandwagon too. Oh, good Lord. Like, I need a studio. Well, that's going to end my marriage tonight. Anyway, man, back to what we're talking about there. I chose based on who had the most former non-FBS players. The Eagles had two. We talked about Tristan and Jalix Hunt, who, man, he made, how about this? A former Houston Christian player last year, he was an edge guy, kind of a fringe prospect, really started to open some eyes because he's so athletic. At Houston Christian, is now doing that bow and arrow that got plastered across ESPN. Got him a little bit of a fine, but they took care of that stuff too.
Yeah, I was to say he was super impressive at the edge, and I was reading up on him a little bit. Wasn't he like a safety just 2 years before he moved to edge at Houston Christian?
Okay, so I actually profiled him on TexasFootball.com last year when he got invited to the Reese's Senior Bowl. And that was really like his big breakout. Like that week is where he showed them that, hey, I belong. And it was something we all kind of knew who had watched him. But yes, he started at an Ivy League school, so he's not dumb by any stretch of the imagination. He spent a couple years, I think it was Columbia, if I remember correctly, and then he was a safety there. And he came to Houston Christian to play linebacker, but he worked so hard in the offseason, bulked up enough to where he became he was the only one I've seen right now that's been as close to Micah Parsons as the real Micah Parsons.
Yeah, he's that new kind of hybrid edge guy that we talk about a lot.
Yeah, we've talked about it, man. The hybrid D-line linebacker that you could put on the edge out there and that hybrid linebacker safety, there's no way of really game planning for that.
Right. Yeah, and the Eagles defensive line and on the edge, between him and Sweat and Carter and Davis, they're a handful.
Carter was driving through that offensive line, wasn't he? Anyhow, too soon.
What do they say? You got to make 7 years before you can make a joke out of it or something?
Is that what it is? It's like that. It's got to go 7 years.
Yeah.
Also, the Conference USA schedule was announced for next year. And I was looking at this. It opens with Western Kentucky August 23rd, which is pretty early in the season. It picks up October 2nd. They play New Mexico State on a Thursday night, another Thursday, then a Wednesday, then a Tuesday, then back to a Saturday to finish up the last three. It looks a lot like other schedules they've had the past 2 years where they do these midweek games. I don't see anything here that if I'm a Sam Houston fan, I'm upset about.
No, and there's a couple things to point out here, and I think we've talked about some of it on kind of social media and on the forums the past week and a half or so since the schedule came out. But you get a week 0 game against Western Kentucky, which is going to be a lot of fun. There's only a handful of games on that day. It's going to be on national TV, so that's an exciting one. I think the reason that came about is because with the Hawaii rule, you were originally looking at 13 games, and that 13th game was going to be in September. You needed a bye in September, kind of with the Hawaii travel. And so I think Conference USA kind of moved one of those games that's typically in September for Conference USA up to week 0. It looks like there's not going to be a 13th game added, so Sam Houston's going to have 2 bye weeks in September now. So that's one thing to note. And then a couple other things is it's an 8-game conference schedule. There's 11 other teams in the league, so you miss a couple teams. You miss Kennesaw, you miss Liberty, and I'm blanking on the last one that you're missing, but you're only playing 8 of the 11 teams in conference play, and one of the teams you avoid is Liberty, and that's a big one because they're kind of the team you can always count on that's going to be really good in Conference USA.
That doesn't make it easy, man. Western Kentucky, New Mexico State on the road, Jacksonville State, La Tech on the road. That's not easy stuff.
No, but I think it's a fair schedule. You get Jacksonville State at home, which I think is big because they're going to be good. You get Louisiana Tech on the road, which is nice. One of your 4 road games is only a 4.5 hour bus trip, so that's a big help. And so I think it's a pretty decent schedule for us. It's exciting to see Delaware come to town. Keeler's old school Ryan Carty coming back after being the offensive coordinator for the national title run. So there's some intriguing pieces. Oh, Missouri State, that's the other one that you're missing. So you're missing Missouri State,
I forgot who's
Kennesaw.
coming in.
Yeah, Missouri State, Kennesaw, and Liberty. So you miss maybe the best team and then two teams that I don't know if they're the worst. It's hard to say right now, but maybe the two worst teams. So I think things kind of average and balance out there. So I thought it was a fair schedule. Miss Liberty, get Jacksonville State at home. Miss the low two teams. You get Delaware at home. It's a big travel for them. So I think it shakes up pretty well. And this is the first time we'll go to Middle Tennessee also after that brawl 2 years ago.
Yeah, and listen, this is one of those things where if I'm Conference USA, I'm giving the teams that finish towards the top a more difficult schedule than the teams that finish at the bottom, and I think we see that resembled here a little bit. I'm with you. I think it's fair. Also, you mentioned Casey Keeler and Clayton Barnes. They were at the of course, they're in Philly now with Temple. And so they were at the parade, and they enjoyed all that, like, firsthand and stuff.
Yeah, I know both of them very well. I saw the videos and stuff. It was pretty cool.
It really was. It was nice. Hey, football had a commitment this week. Tate Ryan, he's a 5-star kicker. Not sure who rates the kickers. That's something.
That's from Coles.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the number 32 ranked kicker in the country, I believe.
Yep.
From the Woodlands High School. This is a position you need to make sure that you have solidified, and I think the Bearcats have solidified this. Maybe not the first year, but here in a couple of years.
Well, I think the position solidified most likely because, I mean, a lot of people forget you have Colby Sessoms coming back, who was Conference USA special team. I think he was the all-team or first-team all-kicker or all-Conference USA kicker. 2 years ago, and then he had hip surgery and missed this last year, but he's supposed to be back. So you don't know exactly what you get back with him, but between Sessoms and Ryan, two pretty good guys, and Christian Pavon's still there. I mean, he showed at times he could get it done. It was obviously not pretty and it wasn't great, but I think you've got three kickers, especially with Sessoms, that you can really rely on.
I know who I don't want to see kick off.
Yeah.
Just saying. Coaching news. And all of this coaching news was found exclusively first on the Cat Fund forum. Exclusive Cat Fund forum over at catfans.com. I know. I was formerly banned from there. The first one up, and these have all you've seen them. These are all official now. We welcome Gary McGraw, cornerbacks coach. Anything? These graphics, by the way, are all courtesy of Bearcat Football on Twitter. Yep. Ben, anything you want to throw in about these guys as we kind of run through them here quickly?
Yeah, and I was going to say a lot of them have been announced. There's also one or two that are on the forum that haven't been announced publicly yet. So we're just talking about the publicly announced ones. But yeah, Gary McGraw was here from 16 to 21, was a part of the national title team, primary recruiter for Zion and Tristan McCollum, went to Tulsa and Southern Illinois for a couple of years after he left, and now he's back. So good addition there with the corners room. He knows what it takes to win here. He's developed talent here, and I've heard some pretty good things about him from during his time here. So excited to have him back, and he knows what it takes to win here.
Official. Freddie Autry-Lindsay. He's going to be defensive coordinator and inside linebackers. Anything else? Did that surprise you at all that he took a position?
No, just because, the defensive coordinators the past few years have taken a position as well. We just don't have as many staff members as some of these other places do. So it doesn't surprise me that he took a position. It was a little surprising to see him go with the linebackers because he had primarily served as a defensive backs coach the past few years. So that was the only surprise. But, I know we've talked about him a little bit, and that hire is official now too.
A.J. Hop, offensive line coach. By the way, if you want to know one of the most important positions, here it is. A.J. Hop is coaching it. He comes from southeastern Louisiana, courtesy Sports of SHSU, all one word, on Twitter. He was on staff at SLU from 2018 He played for Phil Longo at Slippery Rock in Pennsylvania in 2011. So there's a connection there. He's also spent time at Houston, Mississippi State, and Florida Atlantic. Anything else you want to add on AJ Hawk?
I mean, yeah, last year they had Antonio Martin Jr., who was originally signed to come to Sam Houston, was a Walter Payton semifinalist, I believe, had a really good rushing attack. And a couple of years ago, Southeastern Louisiana was a top 5, top 10 FCS team with, I forget the name of the quarterback. What was his name? Cole Bailey, I think was his.
I think so.
I think that was yeah. He was a Walter Payton Award finalist, and they had some really good offenses over there at Southeastern Louisiana. So I like the hire. He's got a connection with Longo. He also spent time as a GA at Houston, Mississippi State, and Florida Atlantic. So has recruited in some, or at least been around some other states where there's a lot of talent. So I think it's a good hire.
And then the most important coach you can add every single time, strength and conditioning. Blair Vaughn, what do you know about him?
Yeah, I graduated from Western Kentucky, another Conference USA school. The past 2 years was the assistant strength coach at Arizona for Arizona football. I've heard he's a really high energy guy, kind of one of those strength coaches that is kind of all over the place, bouncing off the walls kind of thing, which is good. He has a connection to Brian Hess, I've heard, who was the former strength coach at Sam Houston and then North Carolina, where Longo was. So I think that's kind of where the connection came into place, was both Longo and Vaughn know Brian Hess, who's the strength coach I just mentioned. So we'll see what the returns are. I know spring ball got, I wouldn't say pushback, but it's a later date, especially compared to what we used to do. So intrigued to kind of see what the guys look like in spring and going into fall camp.
Matt Merkins, he's staying home, and he's going to be coaching the tight ends. That seems like a pretty good keeper right there.
Yeah, a Bearcat for life, kind of. Guido Merkins' dad played for Sam Houston, played for the Oilers. Matt played for Sam Houston. He's been on staff in a bunch of different roles for between his playing days and coaching days for about a decade now, and he also called the plays during 2022 when John Perry got let go halfway through the season, and he did a really good job. He was in consideration for that OC job from what I know. So I love that he stayed. He's a Bearcat through and through. I know a lot of the donors like him. He's a great guy. I've got to talk to him a little bit the past few weeks. So if there's a guy you want to keep on staff, it's Matt Merkins.
Future head coach material.
Yeah, I can see it. I think he's going to be an OC probably in the next few years. I thought he did a really good job in 2022 calling plays.
Now, another one near and dear to my heart, Mr. Isaac Mooring is the defensive ends coach. He was at Houston Christian, Texas State, an analyst at Texas. He's near and dear to my heart, not just because of Houston Christian. Do you know the other connection, Ben?
Jalix Hunt? I don't know.
Well, of course, but yes, no. His son was a freshman quarterback at UT Permian Basin last year.
Okay, I didn't know that part.
When the quarterback went down, broke his leg, season-ending injury, I believe it was. I know his leg, season-ending injury, and his son stepped in, and you know what? Did pretty darn good for a freshman straight out of high school.
Yeah, I didn't even know that part. So that's interesting.
Yeah, now you do. See, you learned today. Woo!
Corey's providing the knowledge today.
Okay, stop. Let's not go that route. Jeez. Anything else you want to put in there about Isaac? Isaac is a fantastic person and a great coach. Everywhere he's been, they have glowed about him. Do you have anything else you'd like to add here on Mr. Mooring?
I was going to say he officially got added to the team website today, and they listed him as an edges coach. So he's working specifically with the edges / defensive ends. There's also going to be a defensive line coach. That'll be Damian Adams. I don't think that's official yet, but Damian Adams, he was the D-line coach at Campbell for about 10 years. He'll be the defensive line coach, and then Mooring is going to be the edges / defensive ends coach.
Nice. You know what else is nice?
A lot. Whatever you're about to say next.
We are a podcast on the Republic of Football Network and an extension of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and follow us on the various social media platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at March 2 the Pod. It's all one word. March the number 2, the Pod. And now we're going to take another moment here before we talk about baseball. And here's something from our friends over at Eternal Roofing. Eternal Roofing only uses the finest materials in the roofing business while providing an exceptional warranty. Why do they use CertainTeed products? Because they complement any appearance, provide exceptional and reliable strength, and are known for their enduring performance. Here's what Shane Sosa had to say about Eternal Roofing. Taylor and his team are amongst the highest level of professionals. They care about their customers and go above and beyond just doing the job. Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539 or email Taylor at eternalroofingtx.com. Once again, big thank you to our friends over at Eternal Roofing. Last Saturday was a fabulous day for Bearcat Athletics. Catfans.com posted all of the wins that came across baseball, softball ×2, men's hoops, women's hoops, bowling, beat them darn Lumberjacks over there in Nacogdoches. We need more of those weekends, Ben. That's what we need more of.
Yeah, it was a really good day, and one of the better days I can remember. And it's funny, I was actually typing out a similar tweet to this when Cat Fans put this up, so I just hit the retweet button on there. But yeah, it was a great day. Started at I think 8 a.m. with softball against Northern Illinois. Kendall Daniel throwing a complete game shutout, winning 1-0, and it ended late at night with a baseball win over Missouri State.
Did you have any choice words to say about Cat Fans when you saw they were doing while you were typing that out?
No.
Oh,
no.
Man,
less work for me.
That is right. Hey, the baseball team, if you weren't watching or you're just getting home from work, you haven't heard yet, the baseball team played Rice today. They lost final score 6-1. Ben, go ahead, man, because I only have just a couple things that I want to talk about from that game, but I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about what you just saw in their midweek game that, by the way, we should mention again, was freezing freaking cold.
It was, yeah, and I think it kind of summarizes a lot of what we've seen the first 4 games. This is a young team that a lot of the times is playing like a very young team. Only 3 seniors on the entire roster, and your 3 most notable players you've returned. One's sick right now, and the other is out for the year. So you're even younger because those 2 guys are sophomores and juniors. Lots of freshmen in there. And, I mean, it's kind of showing. You see flashes of it at times. You'll see a guy come out of the pen, throw a 1-2-3 inning. You'll see a couple guys at the plate show some nice stuff. But it's a young team. You see it defensively with some of the at-bats they put together, the way they run the bases sometimes. So, I mean, we kind of knew there was going to be some growing pains this year. We're seeing it, and hopefully they can grow up and by the end of the season start to put something together. But, yeah, it's a young team that looks like a young team a lot of the time right now.
When you are a college baseball player, I have a standard that I expect you to meet. Now, first off, I know it was cold, but guess what? It's the same temperature. If I'm coaching, if I'm Jay Sirianni, I'm like, hey, look, it's the same temperature. Rice is playing in the same elements we are. So focus on each play, focus on each pitch, and let's get a victory since we got to be out in this crap anyway, right? That's what I'm saying. But there are some things that I cannot take in baseball, and it's just a lack of focus. When you are a college baseball player, their lack of focus, and I know you want some of this you characterize as youth. Some of this should have been run out of you before you got out of machine pitch, right? Like you hit the ball, and the umpire calls it fair. It's close, like it is. He stands there and watches, and the third baseman fielded it, saw the home plate umpire pointing that it's fair, and then the third baseman jogs down there, tags him out while he's arguing with the umpire. That's a whole lot of wrong right there. That kind of stuff cannot happen at college baseball.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a freshman too, and hopefully you get it out of their system. But yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Cool.
It was a rough day.
Yeah, look, the drop ball in the outfield, like I could say wind played a factor on some of that possibly, right? If it hits your glove, I want you to catch it. But I can maybe think that, but man, that right there is like the epitome of what you can. If I'm Sirianni, I'm putting that up on the next meeting. I'm showing that video, and I am saying if I see this happen again, you're not hitting the field.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, this team's flashed at times. Saturday they looked really, really good. Really good. I mean, from start to finish, Tate Hickman gave you almost 5 innings. Solid, looked good. The bullpen was nails. I think they went 5 1/3 or 4 1/3 scoreless, something like that. Bats put up 11 runs or 13 runs. They look good, and I think they have it in them. They have flashes of it. They just got to put it all together. And it's a young team. I think this year is a lot of figuring out what you have going into next year, considering 95% of your roster is eligible to come back next year. But you would like to see some of that translate into wins this year, so we'll see what happens.
This might be one of those find out years where you find out who you want to bring back, who you want to keep, who's going to actually play for you right now. Yeah. And let's get into this here quickly. Weekend series, they went 1-2 against Missouri State. They were outscored 33-13. Before we talk about one of the real bright spots from early in the baseball season, want to hear what Sirianni had to say after that series against Missouri State, courtesy of Sam Houston Sports Talk.
Coach, just a tough series loss to Missouri State today. Just kind of what were some thoughts with this?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough game today. We didn't play real well, just kind of from the word go. But you know what? It's early season baseball, and we still have to figure out what's what. And we're just figuring out who the guys are that are going to compete. Got to find roles for guys on the mound. Saw some good things still. You know, I thought Devin Bennett came out and threw the ball pretty well out of the pen. And then Felix was exciting. Had a little cramp there, so got him out. But, you know, once we kind of start to get dialed in and understand where and who we are, I'm still excited about this group. It's early season baseball.
Is it, you know, you throw out a lot of freshmen in the field, and just kind of how important is it to just get through this first series, you know, to get down to the belt?
Yeah, I mean, those guys they're a little wide-eyed, just like all of us were when we were youngsters. So they'll get better. They're athletic guys. They're going to learn just kind of making the moment not bigger than it is. And once we get to that, I think we'll be able to settle in and play some pretty good baseball.
You know, you're able to just throw out a bunch of bombs and what you see kind of, you know, good, just from, everybody being out there to just learn from it.
Well, I think the biggest thing that they need to learn is hitters are gonna control the strike zone, and you got to be in the zone to get swings and misses out of the zone. And anytime you get guys, taking pitches, that's a problem. So we've got to get more on the attack early in the at bats and be a little more efficient. But I thought we made a step forward in the right direction on the mound. The score doesn't reflect it, but I was encouraged with what we saw.
Benavidez continues swinging a good bat. He hit one down the left field line. Just kind of what are you seeing out of him?
Benny's just a competitor. I think once he irons in an approach and really gets going, I think we're going to have something fun to work with. But we're going to need him. He's going to be a big piece to this lineup for sure.
And just offensively, you exploded yesterday, with some offense today. What do you just kind of want to see from them, as the season progresses and just getting comfortable there in the box?
Well, I mean, I think the whole name of the game in baseball is how steady can you be? Can you carry over from day one to day two? And this is a group that's got to learn that yet, and we'll get there.
That was Coach Jay Sirianni, courtesy of Sam Houston Sports Talk, following a series loss to Missouri State last week. The thing I found most interesting in that 2-minute clip was when he said we got to figure out who's going to compete. I think we found somebody today that maybe isn't competing, Ben.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just kind of the larger aspect there from Sunday afternoon is they're still trying to figure out roles on the mound. The only kind of defined role you knew coming into this year was Ryan Peterson was going to be your Friday night guy. And he looked good on on Friday. He struggled in the first inning and then really kind of honed in those last 4 innings he was in there. But Devin Bennett threw 4 2/3, I think, of scoreless ball out of relief. Felix Schled looked really good before he kind of came up with a cramp. Connor Zaruba, he's pitched a couple innings of relief and has looked excellent so far. But all these guys are new, and you don't really know their roles. And so you've seen some flashes of it on the mound, and they're just still trying to figure out their roles.
I think I might be having internet issues, but you're paused on my screen. I'm still going. We're still recording, so we'll just continue, and we will make sure. There goes Ben right there. Let's see. Well, maybe it's working. Ben was paused on my screen. There he is. You back?
Yep, you got me.
I got you. Okay. I think we're back to normal now. Sorry for that. That's one of the things about live video.
I don't know if you heard anything I said, but
no, we heard.
Okay.
I heard all that you had to say there when you had that. Now, Hunter Autry, he's pretty good at baseball, man.
he had a good day today too. He had a double and a walk.
Yeah,
2 homers last weekend.
2 3-run bombs.
Yeah. You know his nickname?
No.
Wham.
Why?
Just like from Flintstone, Fred Flintstone.
Nice. Baseball team continues this weekend. They bring in New Jersey Institute of Technology. They're 0-4 on the season. They were outscored 46-16 by High Point last weekend on the road. 6:30 p.m. Friday, 1 p.m. Saturday, 4:30 Saturday. Doubleheader on Saturday at 1 and 4:30, and at noon on Sunday. All of it at the Dawn. So, I listen. Anything less than 4 wins, I don't know that you can be happy this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say it has to be at least 3 at a bare minimum. I think a sweep is what you should do.
Yeah, no, I need a sweep out of this, man. Like
Sweep.
NJIT. Yeah. Hey, we're back to needing that right here. There it is. Sweep. And as I'm getting looks because they're playing New Jersey team, but even my wife knows that NJIT is not good at sports.
Speaking of Rutgers, I think they took 2 out of 3 from Kennesaw in baseball this last weekend.
There you
Conference
go.
USA
Speaking good of Rutgers. That's how you get my wife on your side.
Yep.
It's also why I probably am going to need, a divorce lawyer when this is over tonight. Baseball, it's next Tuesday. They will be starting the Don Sanders Cup Series when they travel to Houston, 6:30 p.m. Houston, I'm guessing, since they're Big 12, they're still pretty good this year.
Yeah, I think they were picked 11th out of 14 in the preseason poll. Todd Whitting's really struggled there the past few years after they kind of had a dominant run towards the back end of the 2010s. But they did take 2 out of 3 from Minnesota in the opening weekend. So we'll see what they put together. I mean, they're good. They're a Big 12 team that is going to compete. They've got 2 former Bearcats on the team, and Malachi Lott and Jake Tatum, who started in the outfield for you last year. So Big 12 team that's probably going to be in the middle of the pack in the Big 12, and it's going to be a tough challenge, but hopefully you can take the cup home this year.
Hopefully so. I want to give a quick update on softball before we move on into talking about basketball. They're 5-5. They had a good opening weekend in the Bearcat Classic. I'll tell you what really impressed me is they didn't get run ruled by Texas.
Yeah,
they really
held their own, yeah.
Yeah, they did. Then they lost 1-0 to those darn Lumberjacks over there in Nacogdoches.
Yeah.
That was a tough one. That's one you wish you had some offense because the pitching was there. They went 2-2 in Louisiana Classic with an 8-2 victory over typically a team that makes the regionals in Louisiana.
Yeah, they were on a 5-game. They were on a 5-game win streak too. They snapped Louisiana's 5-game win streak.
Yeah, that was a good win. Last night they were playing Texas State. Texas State was up 7-1, bottom 4 when the game was halted. They'll continue on April 2nd when the Bobcats come to Huntsville. Just right now, they're 5-5. We've seen some very positive things, but we've seen some things that, beating Louisiana, how they played in the Bearcat Classic, That's outstanding. Losing 1-0 to SFA, I don't know that can happen.
Yeah, it's been up and down. You've seen the offense explode like it did for 13 innings or 13 runs against Bryant, 8 runs against Louisiana. You've also seen it put up 0 against SFA, 1 against Northern Illinois, Ole Miss. They really struggled offensively, really on both sides.
They got beat 10-0 on that one.
Yeah, and so the offense has been very up and down, but the pitching for the most part has been really good. I think they're still trying to figure out who to go to when it comes to pitching. You typically in softball, it's 2 people, but I mean they've consistently run 4 different pitchers out there throughout the season with Amy Abke, Abigail Young, Mackenzie Jenkins, and Tiffany Sanchez. So I think they're still trying to iron out some roles, but the pitching overall has been great. The offense is just a little streaky.
That's changing, by the way. Softball's moving away from the 1 to 2 dominant aces to go to more of a 3 to 4 staff. And a lot of that has to deal with, it's not that it's stress on the arm, but when you're jumping off of that pitcher's plate, you get fatigued, right? Like, I mean, there's some of that involved in it too. And the other thing, like, I was listening to a baseball player talk the other night. He goes, man, kids in high school, kids in college today are facing 95 to 98, right? That was not happening when I was coming up in the late 90s. That's not what pitchers were throwing. These kids are seeing faster. They're hitting the pitches. The hitting hasn't stopped either. So with softball, it makes sense that you're going to need more arms.
Yeah, and just to give people a different look too, if you see the same person 3 days in a row, you're going to start to pick up on what they're doing.
Yeah, you can. That spin will tell you what they have. The softball team is at UTSA this weekend. They've got 5 games in the UTSA tournament, so good luck to them. Before we come back to hear a word about that wonderful Cat Fund NIL initiative going on, let's hear from our friends over at Eternal Roofing one more time. Eternal Roofing is locally owned and dedicated to giving back to the community by supporting local organizations and charities. They are also the winner of Nextdoor's Neighborhood Faves for 2 consecutive years. And as you know, if you've listened to this podcast, Eternal Roofing is your choice for Christmas lights. They provide premium lights tailored to fit your home, season-long maintenance, and hassle-free removal. Kyle Tatum said, they're very professional and great quality, on time and clean, and really made me feel like they cared for me and my home. Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539, or you can email Taylor at eternalroofingtx.com. Once again, very big thank you to our presenting sponsor, Eternal Roofing. And Ben, something else that's really important, and we talked about, look, you want this information and you can help the athletes, you join the Cat Fund. You get the access to the exclusive forum on Cat fans, and you get to say that you're helping some college athletes that need some help. Ben, tell them how they can do it, how they get involved, and where they need to go to sign up, and also how little a month does it actually take for them to help someone?
As little as $10 a month. And like the producer put on the screen right there, cat-fund.com, you can sign up, become a member today, get access to the exclusive content that goes in there, get access to Cat Fund merch and stickers and events that we have going on. So you definitely want to sign up, become a member today. We need it to be able to compete and to be able to support these athletes, and you get some cool stuff in return as well. So definitely want to sign up, become a member.
You certainly do. No doubt about it. Cat-fund.com. Go support the Sam Houston athletes. You want to complain about them, go help them out a little bit, too.
Yeah.
By the way, Brian Judson Jr. made a comment earlier, said Blair Vaughn was added to the website, too. So that is...
Yeah, he was initially added when that post went up. The Mooring and Merkins links didn't go up for another 4 or 5 days after they officially got announced.
Gotcha. Okay. Moving back over to women's basketball here. They took down Jack State 56-49. And then they defeated Kennesaw State. Let me see. Do I have that one next? I do. Look at that. Kennesaw State. They beat 65-53 Yimi and Inman both scored double figures. Cats put together a dominant road performance, swept the road trip. That was all courtesy of Sports of SHSU on Twitter. After starting 0-5, the team is 5-3 in their last 8 games in the conference. And you know, this team, since they went on that bad road trip against Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee State, they're 4-1.
Yeah, and that's who they played this week, so I'm very intrigued to see how they look getting them at home, and also that they're kind of riding high and playing a lot better. And I want to highlight 2 things. The first one is yesterday at Coach Justice's presser, she mentioned how they changed up the offense a little bit, got Nyla Pop Inman, and Ogayemi and Fontecone back into kind of their more natural roles. They were all kind of playing out of position with how many injuries there were, but Coach Justice threw them back in their natural roles, said, hey, go play close to 40 minutes a game since we don't have much depth in there. And they've kind of stepped up and really performed. And speaking of playing all game, Deborah Ogayemi picks up Conference USA Player of the Week honors. Averaged 18 points per game and 6 rebounds per game, played 40 minutes against Jack State, 38 minutes against Kennesaw. Just an incredible week. And she's been on a really good run recently. 15 points, 14 points, 11, 19, 17, 11, 10 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 7 rebounds. I mean, she's just been incredible for this team. She showed it at UTRGV a couple of years ago, then had a down year last year, but just really kind of growing up in front of our eyes, and looks like one of the better players in Conference USA coming into the home stretch.
You know what's so great?
That we're winning games.
That you just did all that and I didn't have to say a word. That makes everyone happy.
Yep, I got it covered.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go look at the standings right now. Middle Tennessee State 11-1, Western Kentucky 8-4. You've already mentioned that's who they play this weekend. Liberty in between them at 11-2 right now. Sam Houston, with those wins, they've upped themselves. They're up to what is that? 7th. They're 5-8 right now. They're a game behind La Tech and FIU, and they're a game and a half behind New Mexico State. They're right there from that 4-7, possibly 4-9 range, really, if you really want to look at it right now. So
yeah,
they have home games. They're at Johnson this weekend. They're at the Johnson Coliseum, and these are big games. These are huge. If they can pull off one of these, it will help boost their seed in the conference tournament coming up if they clinch a spot. But it's not going to be easy because Western Kentucky, they lost 82-49, and that was after they went to Middle Tennessee and lost 66-38. The change in offense really helped a lot. Is that going to be enough to get over the hump against one of these teams, or is it only going to be enough to kind of keep them maybe single digits?
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. I think if you could find a way to split, that's a huge victory, just because both of these teams are really good. And yeah, to get into Corey's Conference USA tournament, you got to be in the top 5, 6, 7. Oh no, you got to be in the top 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Are there in the play-in game, so they're close, and they finish out the regular season with games against UTEP, New Mexico State, Louisiana Tech, who are all teams right there in the mix with them. So if they can find a way to get 3, maybe 4 wins, they've got a good shot to not have to be in the play-in game. And yeah, they just got to keep the momentum going. Start at 0-8, and if you could finish with 7, 8, 9 wins after starting 0-8, you got to feel pretty good heading into the conference tournament.
I do not believe the conference tournament begins until the quarterfinals.
Fair.
That's a fact.
Fair.
Now, I don't watch them. They'll put on the America East on ESPN, and it's like a 8th place game. I don't want to see 8 and 9 in the America East.
Well, I'm sure you love the Sun Belt format. It takes about 4 wins to get to the quarterfinals for some teams.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what some of these tournaments do. They stretch it out a whole week. Anyway, both games for the women this weekend are at home at Johnson Coliseum. If you're away, like maybe you live in Wichita Falls or some crazy place like that, ESPN Plus is where you can catch both games. And now we're moving back into men's basketball. And what a week it was for the men. Mudge Madness coming alive. Lamar Wilkerson, a career-high 29 in a big 66-61 win over top of the conference Jacksonville State. And that wasn't all he did last week, Ben, because then he goes out and does it again. They played Kennesaw State, a game they lost in overtime on the road. This one they win by 2. They sweep the homestand. Lamar put up another 25. Cam Hufner had a big game with 22 points. That was really fun to see, and really something that this basketball team needed right now.
Yeah, every possession's a one-possession game, and maybe they found a way to win, and they see what it takes to win and are starting to figure some things out. It's really encouraging to see. And yeah, back to Lamar Wilkerson, Conference Player of the Week. So Sam Houston sweeps the Conference Player of the Week. Honors, what he's doing this year is incredible. He's averaging 37 minutes a game in conference play, guarding the other team's best player. Is going to be your leading scorer every night. I think there's been 2 or 3 games now where there's been NBA scouts in attendance for him. So he's just been incredible, and this team goes as he does. And similar to the women, both teams are really hurt by injuries and depth, but I feel like the starting 5 for Sam Houston is just as good or better than anybody in this league. And if they can continue to find a way to win games, they're going to be hot and peak at the right time going into the conference tournament. So it's encouraging to see after what was a really tough 3 or 4 weeks.
Big thank you to Bearcat Sports Network for putting together these Lamar Wilkerson highlights that if you're watching live on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, you are seeing right now. That win over Jacksonville State was so big for many reasons. First off, it broke a 7-game losing streak. And of those, 3 of them were in overtime. That tells you, and this is how close this team has been. Like this conference, there's not a lot of separation. We've talked about it all year long. Every one of their Conference USA games have been decided by less than 10 points. Every single one of them. This come tournament time, it's anybody's contest.
It is, and I know we're getting back into conference tournament formatting, it's probably not in the show notes. I didn't include it, but the way the conference tournament set up is we're probably going to be in one of the play-in games. You play 2 games, but then you get a day off before you go to the semifinals and championship game. And for a team like Sam Houston, where I love our starting 5, but it's very thin after that, you start peaking at the right time. You win 2 games, you get your legs fresh for a day, you go play 2 more. That's about as optimal of a format as you can hope for a team that's probably going to come in 9th, 8th, 7th, something like that into the conference tournament. So it's all about peaking at the right time, and hopefully the men and women can both do that.
Hopefully they can, as we take a look now at the men's standings. Jacksonville State, they stay on top. They're 10-3. By the way, all their losses are on the road. We talked, again, you've got to take care of business at home. This is the key to getting a good seed in this conference. You got to take care of business at home and finish 500 on the road. Look what they're doing. They're 6-0 at home, 4-3 on the road. They're up top. Liberty's 9-4. Middle Tennessee State's 8-4 with a 4-1 at home. UTEP is 7-5. Kennesaw State 7-6. New Mexico State. We get down to Sam Houston eventually. They're 3-10. But they have a chance to really make a statement this weekend on the road. They go play a Western Kentucky team Thursday night, 8 o'clock, national TV. It's on ESPNU. They lost to them 75-66 back on January 25th. They travel Saturday, 2 p.m. on ESPN+. They're playing Middle Tennessee State, a team they lost by 2. By 2.
And Lamar had a game-winning layup that got blocked at the buzzer in that one.
Listen, guys, they're that close. This weekend, they go on the road. They take WKU. They take that first one tomorrow night on ESPNU, and you might start getting something started with this team right at the right time.
Yeah, and you finish with 3 straight at home, which I think is a huge advantage going into the conference tournament because you've got 3 straight at home going into the conference tournament. after this road trip, even you win 1 or 2 this week and you come home for 3. And some teams are on the road for 2 or 3 in a row going into the conference tournament. That's a huge rest advantage. Some teams might not even go home after that. So that's a big advantage. And then you finish with Western Kentucky, who's right there. You got a chance to make up a game, maybe move up a seed. You've got UTEP, you've got Louisiana Tech, you've got New Mexico State. So teams that are all within about 3 games with 5 games to go. And I mean, I don't think they're going to make it anywhere past maybe 5th, but they could maybe claw their way up to 6th. I mean, there's still a chance, especially considering they have New Mexico State, Louisiana Tech, and WKU on the schedule. There's still an outside shot they could get that 6th seed and not have to play in that playing game.
That is critical. That is a critical thing to do. You know, Conference USA Podcast Roundtable put out these graphics the other day.
Yeah.
I am not smart enough for that crap, dude.
That's
all
Jake.
I'm a magic number person, but I would looked at that and I was like, I'm not that kind of intelligent.
Are you throwing it up or no?
I don't have it because I couldn't understand it, so I didn't figure I could talk about it.
No, it was just pretty much what seeds are still in play for what team is what it was shown if you're eliminated.
Here's what I'll tell you. That thing took a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
That took
to figure it out.
Because that was a lot of magic numbers you got to figure out for both men and women.
Jake's a smart guy. Jake puts those together. He knows what he's doing.
I believe it now.
We're gonna beat Jake's team on Saturday at Middle Tennessee, though.
Is he from State Farm?
It could be.
Interesting. Hey, we had a lot to put into this show today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching if you're watching, as my home is getting invaded by Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazines. Without you, none of this is possible. Big thank you to Mr. Ben Sorrells. He is the knowledge and the reason why anyone even pretends to care about what I do on this podcast. Until next time, Ben, take us out with something that's going to help bring home a couple of big wins this weekend for the basketball teams.
A couple wins. How about 13 of them between the bat and ball sports and the hardwood this weekend?
Ooh, that's a lot of games. That's a lot.
It's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, well, good luck to you because, hey, look, the Space Cowboys start practice this weekend. That's all I'm saying.
It's about that time.
It is that time. What you got to say to get us 13 wins this weekend?
Eat 'em up, cats. I hope I get some sleep, and let's just win all 13 of them.
Somebody get Ben Sorrells a pillow.